Hi, welcome to day 3, our final day for the 3 days live sessions. And I'm just going to wait a couple of moments to let everyone in. Hi, I see there's some people joining. I think my microphone is working. I hope you are doing really well. Today's the 3rd day of our live sessions. And something I have not yet communicated in the last 2 days is that the purpose of these 3 days is for me to interact live with you as I'm sharing these concepts so that I can go back and then build out a whole course with workbooks and all of the good stuff so that I can present that to you in chunks so that you don't have to watch 2-hour long trainings with me. Okay, so let's see. I see it is live. I want to very quickly check if this is all up. Oh no, this is from how. Oh, I think I've used. Is it that I used the wrong link? Oh, okay. Give me 1 sec. Okay, I think this is working now. The school link did not work. The YouTube link is working. Okay, so I see, Adriana, you have found it already. I just posted it in our community to make sure that everyone is joining the correct link, and then we can go from there. I'm just going to make sure it is on this one here as well. Here it should be correct. Let's see. Okay, I think this should work now. I hope you're doing well. Today's our 3rd day, and today what I want to do is, before I can, okay, let me rewind very quickly. These 3 days that we just walked through, and I've done something similar a few months ago. This is going to be the basis for the course that I'm creating for Impact Stationary Creators and for a funnel that I'm building out as I'm planning to grow Impact Stationary Creators over the next year. I've been working on different funnels and creating smaller courses. So this was one of the reasons as well that I wanted to create this 3 days, because I really love to interact live with you and explain something. But at the same time, I'm also very aware that as a course, that can be a lot harder to consume. So what I wanted to do is process it all with you, answer any live questions that we have, show you different things, the way that I'm thinking about getting your method onto paper and into a product, and then work through it and then create it more bite-sized. So it's easier and more digestible, because oftentimes when we do these things, we do talk in a more theoretical and conceptual way, when sometimes it is important to get how to actually then implement that, which I find can sometimes be harder to showcase or explain in like a live setting like this. So that's basically what we're doing. Today is day number 3, and I am open to all the questions that you have as well. I wanted to touch again on what we've talked about so far, repeat a little bit, because repetition is key here. It's not that there's something always very new that we must learn. It's just that the things that we already know, we need to be reminded of. And when we create physical products out of our method, we already know our method, right? Like we already know what is supporting us. If we prepare for let's say we are travelers and we backpack around the world, and we found like a female solo way of traveling in a way that is, our method. We know that method, and we know that if the person was standing in front of us and they're like, okay, give it to me, tell me all the things I need to know to plan my trip properly, to have a great packing list, to research the locations ahead of time, you would be able to tell the person, right? You would be telling them, watch out for this, do that, and so on. And you would be able to tell them what's important, what might be fluff, what is not needed, and you could present that. The thing is that in many instances, what I've watched people that have a method that they want to share with others, is what happens is that as you're creating the product, often there's more of like a confusion that can come up that makes you want to add additional things that you might have not shared with the person that you would have in front of you, right? That you think like, oh, is this enough? I'm going to add this, I'm going to add that. And that's often when things get a little trickier when you're creating the product, because you're not entirely sure how to do it. So if we go back to the correct page, the page that I want to show you, which is the tree. So if we go back to the tree, which is basically the tree represents, the tree represents our knowledge, right? It represents all the things that we know about a topic, right? Let's go back to the solo traveling. We might know a lot of different things that are not needed in a physical product. We might know about, okay, how, like if you go to India, watch out with this water, or if you go to a certain city in Indonesia, then you might want to prepare certain cash ahead of time because there's no ATMs. You might have all of that extra knowledge, right? And a lot of the details and things and step-by-steps and tips that have been useful in your life, but are not essential to help get the person to make progress. And often giving them that much information can lead them to feel like this, right? It's like, my goodness, way too much stuff. So I would say the magic of productizing your method is really going back to figuring out what is the actual domino piece. So if we're thinking of a car, and I won't be drawing this now very nicely, but here we have a car, and a car has different components that are very important. You have the wipes. Do you say wipes? The wipers? You know, the things that when it rains will help you remove the water from the window. When it rains and you need clarity, you need to be able to see ahead. It's very important. But will the car work even if you don't have it? Yes, you would. The wiper, oh God, I should have selected a different example. I think you say wipes. What? Okay, so those things are going to be important, but are not going to be as important for progress than it is to have an engine, right? Wipers, yes, wipers. Thank you so much, Kara. So wipers, they are going to be input. Now, of course, if it's like a heavy storm and it's raining a lot, so let's assume the person that is driving your imaginary car and you want to help them get ahead from point A to B, and they tend to be in a very rainy climate, meaning they need a lot of clarity and they need the wipers, then the wiper is going to be essential. But we want to look at, within our method, what are the essential pieces to really get the car moving, and are the extra accessories, are all the different extras that we often like to add into a physical product, are they really going to move the car, or are they really not necessary? And also, have I put the things into my product that are actually going to move the car, or is the car just really looking very pretty, but it's missing its engine? So as we're looking at our method, and as we do a lot of the cleanup, because that's often what we have to do, because we do have all these different experiences, right? And we know a lot of different tactics and practical things that will help our ideal person. But not all of that is going to actually be necessary to get that person to move forward. So what we want to do is we want to clean through the bits that we know about a certain topic and identify what are the engines, like what is out of my methodology, what piece is the actual engine? Like, even if nothing else was there, even if it didn't have any like any seats in the car, like even if it had nothing like that, even if it didn't have any doors, you would still be able to move forward. Of course, it would be nice to have all of the other things, but we don't want to miss the main pieces, which would be in a car, an engine, wheels. The easiest way I find to do this is to look at the things that we're doing and wanting to offer, and especially as we are looking at the problem that the person is facing. So if we go back to our problem list, our universal list of human problems when they want to reach something in their life, it often is the clarity piece. It often is, where do I start, overwhelm, and so on. And if getting clarity is very essential in the beginning to move them forward, we will add that. if having daily clarity and reflection and tracking how much water they drank and putting in what the weather was like some of these planners, I'm sure you've seen them. You open them and it's like, what the, like, am I supposed to put every freaking thing in here? Am I supposed to spend, I don't know, an hour just to fill this out? And how is this relevant, right? Like, how is it relevant to me? If I'm like, having unless the planner is around health, the water can be important. But I think in many cases it isn't. Like, there are often these little things that people end up adding into a planner page just to fill it up. And I think it can water down our methodology when we try to add too many things that actually don't. And I see that often with prompts where people overuse prompts, use way too many prompts. And I've done that as well. Like this summer, my designer that helps me design some of my products, she came to visit me in Munich to help me paint my office. And we were looking at the shadow work journal together. And because the last time we created this product, it was like when we started creating it, it was over 2.5 years ago. And at that time, I was still stuck a little bit more in the mindset of more is more. I have to add more and more and more. And don't get me wrong, it still sells. It's not that it doesn't work, but I think it would work even better for people to get them results if I didn't add as many things in there. If there weren't as many prompts, less exercises, less mental overload when it comes to using it day to day. So we were looking at it as we were sitting in the garden of the office, and we're like, oh, some parts of this journal, that they don't make sense anymore. They don't feel intuitive. They feel heavy, right? Like, I'm sure you've experienced that. You've gotten a journal, and at first sight, you open it, it's like, oh, this is great. This looks beautiful. And then you go through the pages and you go through all the prompts, and it's like 10,000 different prompts that it's asking you every day. And then it's repetitive and they're heavy prompts. So you have to think about it a lot. But then you have very little space. So then you feel like, oh, I don't really feel like this. And it had the best of intentions, but it just tried to follow the more is better. Now let's just pile all the value onto the customer and use this journal now. And I find that the cleanup is the main work that we have to do. And there are some big examples in the industry. Like we have the 5-minute journal. And the 5-minute journal as an example has sold a lot. There's also the 6-minute journal. It's a German competitor of the 5-minute journal. They actually sold more than the original, which I thought was funny because it started as a smaller market, but they had a very powerful I don't know if strategy is the right word, but they went into retail stores very, very quickly. And most of the sales I actually got, as far as I know, through all the retail stores and all the partnerships that they've done. So I think that was very, very smart of them to do it. Of course, the 5-minute journal, you can now find it also in a lot of different stores, but it took many more years. I first got familiar with the 6-minute journal, I think it was 2016, and it only came out 2015. And I could already buy it in stores. So, okay, but what do they have in common as well? Also, better every day. It's a very popular. Better every day is a very popular journal as well. And they all have a methodology. They all have something they believe. And their methods often are they're simple and user-friendly. So I'm not entirely sure how many prompts they have a day. I could give me 1 second. I got it. I have a cupboard with like hundreds and hundreds of journals just around here, and I get it. Okay, found them. This is a 5-minute journal. This is actually a different type of 6-minute journal. This is actually the goal planner. So let's look at the 5-minute journal instead. And let's look at what they have, right? They've sold 2 million copies. And let's look. It's very simple. And this is what they are asking. I am grateful for. What would make today great? Daily affirmation. Then they have the night. So in the morning, you have 3 prompts. In the evening, you have 2 prompts. Highlight of the day. What did I learn today? And what makes this very powerful is that these are not very heavy prompts that require lots of like cognitive power, because sometimes there are these long prompts that really require you to like sit down and think. And when we are faced with that, that can feel difficult. And sometimes it brings in a lot of resistance where you're like, okay, let's skip this one. This is too hard. Because you're not able to respond as quickly. Even sometimes very simple prompts like this in hard days can be hard, right? Like even what am I grateful for sometimes can be hard, right? And when it's a hard day, it's like, well, I'm grateful that I'm healthy. I'm grateful that I have a body, right? Like you try to go often to like something very, I wouldn't say basic, but something that is easy to come to your mind. So when we think of our methodology, often what I find is people try to make it so sophisticated that they put a lot of mental burden on the person, and then the person ends up not wanting to use the product. Now, what I think they've done in a very beautiful way is they thought of creating a journal that guides you a bit, that can be used every single day and helps you with some psychological foundations, right? Gratitude will do good for you, right? So they've included daily gratitude. They've included priming your day to expect something positive. That's why they ask, what would make today great? And it's also a form of intention setting, right? But you're priming yourself as well. And then a daily affirmation, something positive. And in the end, they encourage you to look at positive things of the day, highlights of the day, and what you learned. So you take a lesson for the future. So actually, even though this seems so simple, this is a well thought through methodology because it includes a lot of important psychological things that will help you have a more positive life. What else do they include? They include a small weekly challenge. I think from a design perspective, they could have made the weekly challenge pop out a little bit more because sometimes they look like quotes. And for those of us, well, at least this is how my brain works, is I don't tend to like always read these types of things. I often skip them and just go straight into the action. Sometimes I read a quote. Usually, if it's a very short one, I will read it. If it's multiple lines, I don't always read it, or I just scan through it. I have to be very intentional to read it. I don't know what it is, why it is that way. I love reading, but usually quotes I don't tend to read, especially if I basically have an exercise to do, right? Like here, I'm doing something. So the weekly challenges, I think it's a nice touch to add a weekly challenge. Pick a topic you know nothing about and understand the fundamentals of it. I think this is beautiful, and having a weekly challenge is really great. I would have just seen if they could do something about the design so that I would notice it more. That's basically it. But I think not everyone would. I think many people do read through them, so they would not miss them. But I also know that there are other people like me that are more scanners that would miss this a bit more, unless it's pointed out just a tiny bit more. Or have just a single page for it. Then I would not skip it. If it was an empty page and it just had this blurb with the weekly challenge, I would always see the weekly challenge. These are small things, but I think they can be impactful. And and then let's look at what else they've added. So kept it very simple. But if we now look at our path list, this is our path list, and they want to help people have a happier life, a more positive life, include important routines into their lives. So the way that I've done it, most of this is the consistency, is doing the 5 things that are going to support you every single day, that are going to step by step make your life easier. They kept it very simple, so it's not necessarily like a step-by-step process. It's a simple consistency and accountability with some habits that you're getting. But in the beginning of the journal, so journal starts at page 36. Before that, it is giving you a few things to make the best out of it. So let's look at the table of content. It looks, actually here it's so bright, but on the video it doesn't look that bright. Maybe this is something that later on can be visual effect. Can I make this bright? No. Can only enhance my skin. Okay. 5 reasons you love the 5-minute journal. Okay. How it works. Okay. Basic principles. So page 5, they're explaining the basic principles. They're keeping it very simple. Early to bed, early to rise, make men healthy, wealthy, and wise. They're explaining the concept. Why would I write as soon as I wake up? So they're explaining why. Why should I write just before going to sleep? They're explaining why. They're explaining gratitude. They explain the morning routine. What is gratitude? Creating a better day. That's where they're covering that part. What would make today great? So they're explaining the intention behind all of the different things and the science behind it as well, right? Here, there's a small part of your brain called the reticular activation system, reticular, RAS, and they're explaining that, right? What would make today great? That simple question has a positive effect on your brain. They are covering the daily affirmation, explaining the science behind it, which I think is very smart that they've done this, because they've given all of these different things a lot of additional context, and some examples of how they could look like. And then they explain the night routine. Highlight of the day, again, why this is good. They explain it by, I don't think they're citing any studies, but I think they are speaking about where they got the information from without citing as much. I think that would make it even more powerful, citing different studies. And then acknowledging lessons of every day. Weekly challenges, why there are different weekly challenges. And part of the concept was, or methodology was, okay, if you have gratitude every day, if you set an intention every day, if you have a positive affirmation every day, if you review your highlights of the day, and if you look at the lessons, you already have the engine of your personal development going, basically, of improving your life. Now, if you're on top of that do weekly challenges, that's also going to further support you. Here we have a commitment letter, commitment agreement. So you're committing to yourself, filling in the blank. Here, the sticky solution, helping you stick with it. Your identity statement. Here also, they're helping you just identify as a person that does this, accountability, and then the journal, which I think is a phenomenal way they've done it. It's already a newer version, so they've already worked on it, because the first version was, I think, 2013 or 14. So it's already changed a little bit from the original one, but I think they've done a phenomenal job. And oftentimes people will feel like this is not enough, this is too little, but actually this is really packed in a way with all the goodness that the person will need. Now, the challenge often is not adding more stuff. The challenge often is figuring out how to remove all of the other things, keeping it simple enough so that it is user-friendly. So our biggest challenge when we think of our own methods is to keep it simple enough and user-friendly enough. Now, here we have less content. Why was a product that has a lot more content also popular and works very well? Because if we look at all these different cards, in a way, they are very easy to use as well. So if I need a framework to decide, right? So I'm doing a workshop and I want to decide something. Not only does this card show me how I can decide, how long it will take, very short explanation, and then how to do it. It's short, it is visually, engaging. There's some to it, and it still is very simple. It's not giving me for one tactic the whole page to read and something super complex. it's keeping it simple still, right? And giving it a topic and telling me how long it takes also helps me a lot. It's very user-friendly because this way it's a lot easier for me to know what I might want to use, right? So even though this has so much more content than the 5-minute journal has, it in its form is still user-friendly. Now, if we think of a product like the 6-minute journal here, this is not the one that was the most popular, but it has 1 page per day. It's just in German, so it won't be as easy to. I think you get it, what it would be like. So it still is trying to stay simple as much as possible. What I'm grateful for, I'm looking forward to, my focus of the day, and they're giving these things additional names. So they are saying your main focus, this is your piece of cake. And then your to-dos, additional to-dos, these are like the cream on top, right? And then this is the cherry on top. So these are just the things like, it would be ultra nice to do it, but this is the main piece of cake, and not in the sense of like piece of cake, it is easy. It's like it's a piece of a cake. We have a quote, we have some space for thoughts, ideas, and then we have our dates. I think it is not bad. I think from a layout, I think it can still feel a little messy. In a way, messy might not, I think there could have been more intuitive ways to lay this out. But other than that, they also kept it pretty simple. They didn't add now a ton of additional things in here. And oftentimes when we work with someone, it is that we have to remove a lot of products. And over the years now, we've helped create so many products. Often you will find products on Amazon, and they were created by us or with the help of us. And we find that the products where we manage to have some form of simplicity, they do sell more over time because people use them, they come back to them, they recommend them, they have success with them, and those are just shared a lot more. And I think also they're used a lot more. Sometimes when we create a product and we are not using it ourselves, we can how do you say that? You can stay too much in your head, right? Like you're stuck in theory because you think that, I would use it this way. Yes. But you have not experienced it. So a lot of the creation of our products are actually an experience. And something that we always do with people where we do done for you projects for, or people that we support with when they are creating their own, we tell them, print your product first. Print the pages first before you even get a sample. Print them, use them for a few days. Use it. Imagine that you're your own customer. Are you getting annoyed after using it a few times? If you as a creator are already getting annoyed at your own prompts, I bet clients will feel that even more. And it's often something where we have to get out of the screen, because especially the difference between having a digital design of your product and then having a physical printed, even if it's not an actual journal, as long as it's printed on paper, often we hear back like, wow, the product felt totally different. And I immediately saw what I had to change, because creating a product is less of having it in our head and putting it on paper. It's like, yes, we're putting what we want to experience onto paper, but then we have to experience to be able to judge if this is a type of product that we want to pass on to others and we want to actually manufacture. This is also a reason why I always get a sample, and I try to get a sample where it's fully printed so that I can experience the product. That's also what I'm doing with a current product, prototype. This is a sample of mine, and I'm going to be using it. And even if that means that it will take longer to have this product on the market, doesn't really matter to me, because I want to make sure this is a product the way that I would want to use it, and that actually makes sense, and not just sense one time, but using it again and again. And I already noticed a few things that I would want to do in a different way, right? Especially with the project management, I have like a really big one, which I'm very excited about, because I think sometimes you just need a really big space to plan out a project, and then have a few smaller post-its and have a few smaller things. Okay, I only have a closed one here. But I've noticed that I've opened it again, and I hadn't seen it for months, because when I created it, that's already months ago, right? So I could receive the sample. I'm like, hold on, how do I use this now? Where do I start? And I realized, oh no, this product isn't intuitive enough. Even though I've designed this product, in the first moment, I was a little confused. I'm like, do I do this first? Is this actually correct? Shouldn't this be here? So experiencing your product is important, and sometimes seeing it again with fresh eyes and looking at, is this intuitive? Is this making sense? Is this requiring a lot of mental capacity, a mental power in order for me to be able to fill this out? Can I do this really every day? Is this something I would want to do every day, if it's supposed to be every day? And that's how we go and experience the product. And then you will see that the answers will show. They will show themselves. You will notice like, oh no, I'm trying to have 2 products in one. Let's split them up into products. Oh no, I think instead of planning your day, your week, your month, this, that, maybe let's just have a strategic planner. It's a weekly planner, and then they have like a separate daily notepad, right, to write down the to-dos, like a separate to-do list. These are things that are going to crystallize through as you are experiencing it and as you are building it. So if we again go back, and you might be wondering, oh God, Laura, again. we know now. We have to help the person go from A to B, right? A to B. And this is an example that we've done yesterday. And if you want me to do an example on potential products and how we could approach them as well, feel free to post them in the comments. Also, feel free to post any type of questions that you feel like you're not sure about, or a bit that you felt like, I'm not quite sure I understood this. Feel free to ask that in the comments, because that always helps a lot to see different perspectives and holes in my own thinking where I'm like, oh, I wasn't, or holes in my awareness where I wasn't aware of a perspective that is needed to explain something. This is why I like to do this live as well, so I can have any questions, and later I can put that into the to the course that I'm building. But basically, we go back to the same thing. We want to get the person from A to B. We need to truly understand where they are coming from, what's there before, what is the desired after. The desired after cannot be you're solving all of their problems. No, it has to be a specific thing. You understand the pain points before. And it's not only that you understand the pain points, you understand what is actually holding them back. What is it that they're lacking? Are they lacking a certain plan? Are they lacking a step-by-step? What are they lacking? What are they thinking they need? And what do they actually need to get them to move forward? And since you are familiar with your own methodology, you would know. In my example, one of my biggest pain points in life has been struggling with the way I think and ADHD, productivity, getting distracted, being chaotic, all of these different things. While ADHD has been probably one of my biggest gifts in life as well, it also came with a shadow side. And I had a lot of different pain points around it. And there were things I thought I needed and things I didn't consider that I needed. Over the years, I figured out, oh, I truly need structure. And this was not something that would have come into my mind. I was very free-spirited. I left home when I was 19 with a backpack. I was traveling for years. I was in Asia. My teachers used to call me a bird, right? Like a colorful bird. When I was at school, because I was very friendly but very chaotic, and I always felt like this is what I need. Structure is my enemy. I don't need structure. I need to be super free. The problem with that is that I was so free, and I would want to be so free all the time that I could actually not follow through with anything. So the thing that I didn't realize what I needed was actually structure. And when I figured this out, and with the structure, I suddenly was able to reach different goals. And of course, I did more personal development, and I realized a lot of different things and beliefs and this and that. I realized, oh, okay, I actually need to plan my week ahead of time. I actually need to time block. I need to time myself. And my previous self would have thought, this is madness. This is crazy. This sounds very controlling almost. Like I would have never accepted something like this. But when I noticed that actually it isn't, it's just giving my brain like places where it can just play, and then it will do good stuff. But I need that structure. And when I realized that, I created planners for myself that gave me a lot more structure and were less, because usually my plan, I've always used planners my whole life, but I would never block schedule, or I would never do any. I would just write lists or draw something. But that's something I've learned. This is how my ADHD products came to life. Now, in the ADHD products, I didn't put in all of my mindset work, and I didn't put all of those things that I also learned, because that would have just been way too much. But I put in the structure, and I explained in the product as well that me adding structure to my life was the thing I didn't realize I needed, and that obviously there is no perfect 100% perfect method, but the results that I was able to get just by adding the structure and just having a place where I could do this was so life-changing, gave me so much progress in my life, and I wanted to pass that on, and it was a product I wanted for myself. And this is what I've done with my own product, how I put in my method in there. But I didn't put all of the things inside there, right? I didn't put in different like mindset things or music playlists that I like to listen to, or this and that, because it was not even the Viper. It was just like a color to put on the car. like not relevant at all to make progress for someone else. Like I try to strip it as much as possible. And this is a product I've created 5 years ago. Doing it freshly now, I would still do it a little bit differently, but with what I had at that time, and I kept it very simple. There were almost no additional explanations. And there it was just explaining that's the structure. We're going to plan the week ahead. We're going to think of what are moments where I can feel stuck, what are things that can get me out of a loop when I get stuck, just being a little bit more prepared, doing some goal setting, and then block scheduling. That's basically what we did in a planner. And lots and lots and lots of people bought this product because it was simple and it included a methodology that helped me without adding my whole life into it. Because then it would have been overwhelming. I had a different product which also sold very, very well. That one I filled up with a lot of different things, and the reviews were not as positive, even though it has sold quite a bit as well. But there I learned, and over time I took some things out because I had like password lists in there, and like, I don't know, I had like lists for 100 different things in there. Or at least it felt like that. It was probably not for 100, but you know, it felt like that. And people felt they felt like this because I tried to put in a lot of different things, and I tried to put things in that I believed other people wanted me to put in instead of the things that I overcame. Like I put password lists in a planner. I would never use that myself. I don't use, I don't know. I thought other people wanted me to put that in there. I don't know what else. I put DM trackers in there. You know, a tracker where you can put who you've been ghosting on WhatsApp or on messages on your DMs, which I think is fair for someone who has ADHD because yes, but it was not practical. You know, having a list of people. I had a list of online shopping that you've done. I would have never used that list, and I don't even know what I was thinking. But I was thinking, well, people with ADHD, they often forget what they've bought online. Wouldn't it be great to have a list? But yeah, they probably wouldn't use it. So I've added a lot of different things, and people were like, "Oh my goodness, this is so confusing." And I'm like, "Yes, you're right. This is very confusing. I don't know what I was thinking." I was trying to people please without really thinking through. Like, there's different ways of people pleasing. There's a way of people pleasing where you're trying to just like give. Don't see that. It's a way where you're giving not from generosity, but from fear, right? From fear of not being enough. And that was the type of people pleasing that I was doing in that case, which wasn't really as much to please the other person and more for like I wanted to do it right for my own sake, right? And I noticed this within myself, and I've seen that in other people too. And it's like, okay, we just want to be aware. Like sometimes we want to add more, and there's no shame, there's no judgment here. It's just like, why are you trying to add that much into your product? Is it because you really feel that the person is going to get more through that? Or is it because you feel that it otherwise isn't enough, or that you want to almost blind them, right? Like, look, I'm giving you all of that. Please don't see that I don't feel adequate. So this sometimes happens with products, and it's interesting. They say that when you build a business, it's like personal development on steroids, and it is because sometimes it makes you face all these different things. But once you're aware, you're like, okay, you know, I don't want my clients to feel like this. Let's bring it back. Let's only look at what's actually going to be the engine of the product. Let's not be thinking of colors of the car. Let's not be thinking of, I don't know, like a special beatbox music system, whatever. That's not what's going to get them forward. We're looking at the engine, at the wheels, all the important things. Wipers can be important certain moments. Are they essential to move the car? Not in most cases, right? So we just want to look at the essential pieces. And then when I created new products in the ADHD market, I would have not even thought of the password list. I wouldn't think, because I'm like thinking of the bio. I know you don't need it. Let me not distract you with this stuff. What do we actually need? Let's look at the pieces that are going to move the needle. And it might not work for everyone. There's going to be some people that won't, but you want to resonate with your people. And often you recognize that because either your people is a version of you from the past, or it's a version of your client that you're very familiar with, that you understand what they need and what their vision is. How do you feel about this? Let's go into some questions. Let's go into like some interactions together. What are some questions that you might have? What are parts of this that don't feel clear? What are some ahas maybe that you have? But yeah, you can share any questions that you might have or any realizations that you might have today or the last few days that you could share with others as well. I see an older comment from earlier. I'd love to see more about the funnels. Found this very insightful. Okay, yes, we can look at that. I can look at that now. So we looked at funnels yesterday is a little bit as well. So if we're thinking of physical products and different reasons that you would want to create physical products, right? There's the reason of visibility, making you, your company visible. There is, how would I draw this? Here, being number one, credibility, authority as well, standing out in a very competitive market. Also, I would say future proving too. I think with a physical product, there's just something about this, right? And we've talked about that on the first day. I can't explain why. I'm sure there are some psychological things that play a role here. But oftentimes when you see a person that has written a book or that already has like a physical product line and they're an expert in something, it just makes you feel different about them, right? It just makes you feel like, you know what you're doing. You're legit. You would feel less like, oh, this is probably some online guru scammer or something like that. Like you would feel, you wouldn't feel like that as, and I think it's very interesting. And someone could have like the prettiest PDF, right? Like they could have like a beautiful online journal, but I think the effect isn't the same as having like a nice physical one. It just, I don't know, it just, I can't explain the psychological effect behind it, but it just has an effect. It's similar to a book effect, right? So it just gives that credibility. It also opens doors. So it's a beautiful business icebreaker because you can like, yeah, hey, I'm the founder of, I create these products. Yeah, I'm happy to go on your podcast. We can talk about how people could use, because if you have a course, and I think it's very interesting, if you go on like a podcast or you see podcast interviews, a lot of the interviewees have books written, or they have a simple, like easily accessible product, because having a journal makes you accessible in a way without you selling your time, but it makes you in a high value accessible puts in a high value accessible bucket, similar to a book. It's like you have access to the person, to the method. It's not an expensive course. It's the best way to get to know someone, or before you jump into service or something else, which I think is very beautiful. And it makes you more familiar with the person in a high quality, accessible way. So, and also it's easier for the interviewer to promote something that is accessible. It's going to be a lot harder to say like, hey, today this is the podcast, this is my guest. Yeah, go join her service for $2,000, right? Like, it's a lot harder, but it's a lot easier for an interviewer to say like, hey, yeah, and she has this wonderful journal or wonderful planner, or this like card deck that you can purchase on all the available bookstores or whatever, right? Like, it's a lot easier also to promote you to bigger audiences and have audience swaps almost, right? Like being able to tap into someone else's audience, because it's an easy sell for anyone. It's an easy even gift, right? Like, they can be like, hey, we're doing a giveaway, whatever. Like, there's a lot of different things that can be done that feel less salesy because it's a product in a way. Do you understand what I mean? So I think it's very curious to see these things. So it's an icebreaker and opens doors. But of course, it also attracts the person that you want to work with, and it becomes a funnel. So often funnels that we see in the online space. So we have all these different funnels. Either they are free, so we have like the free ones, and then we have the paid ones. And then that sometimes it's a digital product, or it's like an online consultation, or it's a PDF here as well. And often these things, especially if you're using meta ads and all of that, I think very powerful, and I highly believe in them, and I've used them. But I think there's just something just that does it in a different way by having a physical form. So I go to a store and I can buy this product, right? Like, I go on Amazon, I can buy this product. And then I interact with the product. It's not a PDF. Like, how often have I spent $27, $15, $17, the $47, the 37, the 27, like all of those seveners, ending with a seven. How many I've bought like on Facebook and so on. And I don't even know where they are. I don't even know their names. I probably they're buried somewhere. It would have been so different if I gotten a physical book. And there's these funnels that we also, many of us know, the book funnels, right? So I also bought book funnels, and I do have these books lying around. And these are often more the products that I get into touch when it is, something that I'm looking out. So I have a few products, a few books that really have been the perfect funnel for me. Like, even we think of Hormozy, his book is a funnel, right? What have his book done for him? They have built incredible trust and let people to then go to his workshops, purchase his other things. So actually his books that I bought have now made me spend $23,000 on his support and services. Imagine, right? It started with a book. And the trust, the books are really good. Credibility. Before his book, I didn't know him. So I got to know him through his book. And I got to trust him through his book. And he had nothing to offer at that time. But if he had something to offer just right at that time, I would have immediately bought it. Because his methodology he shared in his book was wonderful. Now, years later, I have spent quite a bit of money. So if we now, instead of seeing a book, and instead of writing a book, because a physical product that might be a card deck, that might be a journal, that might be a planner that guides the person. Because why did I like the books a lot? Because it gave me knowledge to get me from A to B. If you had a planner, I would immediately buy a planner. Actually, I would love to create a planner for him because I need a structured way to follow along his stuff. Otherwise I feel like this sometimes, like, it's too much. So I would love just a planner. Okay, do this every day. Okay, yes, I'm checking it off. Okay, so this makes a planner very, very powerful for a funnel, because again, you gain the trust and credibility similar to a book. You help the person gain progress, but you're physically in their space. You're physically at their home. You're at in their bag, in the nightstand, on the table, in the wall, in a shelf, at the wall, next to the wall, all of those places. You're actually there. You're not in a drive. You're not somewhere that they won't look at it again. Because the same thing, let's imagine the Hormozi situation now, the same thing would have not happened if his book would have been a PDF. I would have not read through the PDF, and I would most likely not have built that level of trust in him. And I would probably not be spending $23,000. So this is a beautiful example of a book, of a funnel that he has done with his physical books. So if we want to do this and we are considering our product as a way for people to come into our world, right? So they come into our world, gain trust, we're getting credibility, we are opening a lot more doors. So it means even more people that can come into our world. So going back to Alex Hormozi, his book also opened a lot of different doors, because at the time where he brought out his first book, the purple one, right, the 100 million offers, he was not famous. At that time, his Instagram had 10,000 people on it, right? Like, it was very, very early stages. He didn't have a personal brand yet. He didn't have tons of different videos just yet. He was just transitioning from not talking about gyms to now starting to talk about business. So it was a very different time. And his books have given him a lot of credibility and have been a beautiful icebreaker for him as well. It's just that not everyone needs to be writing a book like that. And I find that there's just so much progress that people can make through a guided product that does not necessarily have to be a book. Like, if he taught his concepts through cards, I would love that. I would learn from that as well, right? Okay, so I see some questions. So here, this is like the big picture. Okay, so we have a question here, and then this is about funnels. Okay, so I keep the funnel question first, and then I come back to the other question. So, what marketing funnel strategies except for PPC and Google Ads for specific keywords have proven to be successful for your planners? An example, is it worth posting on social media, Pinterest? Okay, so over the years, I've given different responses to this question. For me, the most effective has been keyword research and selling on Amazon. This has by far been the very most effective thing. But also, I need to say, I started years ago when it was less competitive. Now, one thing that I'm doing now that is different to what I've done before to as a funnel is that I am doing Facebook ads now, and I'm building an audience. I can't say much about social media for myself because I personally have been someone who was always against social media. But I was against it. I just didn't want to create a social media presence. I didn't want to create videos. So for 5 years, I haven't done anything. I have not done any marketing other than Amazon. And most of my sales, so $4 million worth of sales, were from Amazon alone. Now, I know I've left a lot of money on the table by only doing it that way. But I was able to reach more than 100,000, like lots of people, lots and lots of humans. I've seen different competitors, and what I found is that a lot of these competitors, they were thriving a lot because of social media and content marketing as well, influencer collaboration. So this is something that is high on my priority list right now. But if I'm looking from this point in time right now, Amazon is still going to be my number one because Amazon has already millions of customers, and they are often Prime members already, and they are already searching specifically for something. So this is predominantly what I have done. Now I have to give a little bit more context as well. My goal was not to create a funnel for myself, right? Because I don't have any ADHD trainings, I don't have any ADHD coaching. So my goal was purchase my product, purchase again. That was all that I wanted. But over time, as I was helping other people create products, they wanted it as a funnel. And this is how we came. I'm like, oh, okay, this actually is a beautiful funnel that works similar to a book. And here, what we find works a lot is outreach, being able to be spoken about or spoken to in interviews or on an email list, collaborations, things like that. Amazon is still one very powerful way to get customers. Also, it helps with all the logistics, makes it a lot easier. It's one of the main reasons that I like it. It is one of my favorite types of funnel. I also just like a more traditional funnel, but I still prefer to fulfill with Amazon. So I always have a connection to Amazon, even when I sold on Etsy, even if when I sold on my direct website, I often had it all funneled through Amazon, and Amazon fulfill everything because make it so much easier. But one thing that has been a high priority is audience building. And let's say, if I did start today from the very beginning, I would do Amazon plus thinking of how can I get the word out there by reaching out to people to be interviewed, to be on the scene in front of their audiences. And I would do some content. Because building a personal brand in today's world I think you can do nothing wrong with that. And then having your very own product, even best. So we see a lot of successful entrepreneurs now building personal brands. And I think it makes total sense. And it's something I want to do as well. So I would do that as well. I hope this answered the question. There's a follow-up question. Do you only sell Amazon USA or also countries like Germany or UK? I only sell in the USA. I am building a new brand with German language that I will sell in Germany as well. The reason why I don't sell on Amazon Germany is because most people in Germany, they would buy their product in German. They wouldn't necessarily have an English product. There are some on the market, but it wouldn't. And at that time, my focus was just on Amazon USA. I have some sales from Canada, some from Mexico, mostly from the USA, because I didn't want to do the whole translation thing and so on. The return on effort was just bigger, focusing on creating more products for the US market than trying to now get mine into the German market. But now, as I am establishing myself a lot more in Germany, I've also set up a German company, and all of these things take a little bit more time here in Germany because there's a lot more bureaucracy here. But then I will do. But it would have not been my first choice to do it in Germany. The US market, I think, is a lot more beginner friendly. Germany has a lot more things that you could accidentally do wrong because there's so many rules that you don't know about and so on. It's a little different in the US, which I'm very grateful for. And the market is bigger in the US as well. And people buy internationally. So a lot of people go to Amazon.com, and even though they're in a different country, they purchase. And I do that a lot as well. I purchase a lot from Amazon.com. And then once I have like 5, 6, 7 things in my cart, then I ship it to Germany. It takes a week or so, and then it arrives and tends to make sense. Okay, then I have this question here, which I will answer. What is the most important thing you think a planner or journal should have? And what is too much, especially for daily and weekly planners? I think there's no straightforward answer here. I would always look at the person that you're trying to support and what you're trying to support them with. A high achieving business woman will have a very different capacity and things that she requires compared to a teenager that has autism, right? So we want to look at who are we trying to solve a problem for, and who are we trying to get from point A to point B, and what is going to support them most. So in most cases, when we're creating a product, we're either creating it for someone who's very close to us, like clients. So if we like a therapist, we know what the common things are our clients are needing. Or if we are creating it because of a method that we learned for ourselves. So we're creating a product basically for a past version of ourselves. Create something that you know a past version of you would resonate with, because there's no clear answer of what is too much and what is too little, because it really depends on what the product is used for. For some topics, it makes more sense to have a daily page. For some other topics, it makes more sense to have a weekly page. And here is where you want to connect with either that past version of yourself or the client that you're creating this for, and experience it through, like I would use it as well. What would you like more? So I would ask the question yourself, what would you find too much? What are you finding too little? And it will depend on the topic, because for certain topics, I find weekly perfectly enough. Other topics, I'm like, don't give me a timeline. I want to use it whenever I want to use it. Another topic, I'm like, I want it daily, right? It really depends on the topic and who it is that you're trying to help and with what problem. Really also dive deeper into digital planners or stick with physical. I personally am going to do more digital planners, but only for the purpose of attracting more people to my physical products as a self-liquidating offer. So I just launched a new funnel last night, which I would love to show you. What is it? This one here. Okay, so let's do this. I'll hide this and I'll share my screen. Share screen. Oh wow, just give me a second. I have so many tabs open. Which tab is it? Ah, here, this one. Okay, so this here is a digital version of my guided shadow work journal. So it's basically a PDF people can print. They get 226 pages, which is the whole journal basically, and they're getting it for $9. My goal here is to attract an audience mostly. With this offer on the front end, I most likely won't be making any money. Probably for every person that purchases for the $9, I'm actually making a loss because having the ads on is more expensive than the $9. But I also have extra things that people can purchase. And with that, the idea is that that is going to make it profitable. And once they get to the next page, actually they get to a thank you page where we say like, hey, we know you got the digital product. Would you also like the physical product sent to you? And then they can purchase it on Amazon. My goal is this way to fund growing an audience of people I know are already interested in shadow work. And in journaling, they are going to be a great fit for my physical product. But this is a very low risk way for me to do this as well. As I'm also preparing for more physical products. So I'll be also doing funnels with directly to physical products. The thing is, I want to keep it as much as possible on Amazon to not have as many logistical things to deal with, because I believe so deeply in return on effort. And I know figuring out the whole logistical part is going to give me less return right now on my effort than having it go through Amazon for now and then later on. So my main goal is to build an audience with that. So if this performs well, I'll do it with almost every product that I have. And my ultimate goal with that is to grow my audience, because I don't have an audience. Because I never done the social media game, right? Like I didn't do any marketing. And this is how blessed I was with Amazon, right? Because Amazon just gave me all the customers. I didn't have to do all the marketing. I could be my anonymous me and I could just create products, but I didn't have to create content. But now I'm getting ready to create content and I'm wanting to do it more as well. But I don't have an audience yet. So this is a way for me to build an audience. And if it all goes according to plan, make a profit while I'm building an audience and be able to create just more products and sell more products. Get it all out there. Where do you see your brand in 5 years? So in 5 years, I see, that's a very good question. And I can just drift a little bit. Like I don't have 100% clear, but I know that one of the things that I'm focusing on is building a personal brand, an audience. And I'll have my products in stores. I probably have one main brand. I think some of the products I will fusion together into one main brand, because in the past I've always had multiple brands. I think I want to fusion it a little bit more. That's one scenario. Another scenario, I keep all the brands separate and fusion it more into Impact Stationery, meaning as the umbrella of my brands. And then I just share different brands with people, like, hey, I'll be the journal girl and I'll be the person like sharing different journals. And some of these will be my brands and some of these could be members' brands. So I see that as well. But I see a lot of content, and I see being a lot in stores, being a lot more omnipresent, not just in Amazon, but offline, online, on social media, influencers, all of that. We want to be everywhere. That's what I'm seeing. If you'd start from scratch, what would be the funnel and monetization strategy you'd go with? I would still do Amazon first. That's always going to be my main thing I would do. Basically, the reason why is because Amazon is such a powerhouse when it comes to giving you clients and giving you customers. It's just incredible. But if I did start from the get-go, I would probably do content creations. I would constantly use my product and show my product, and I would collaborate a lot with people that know how to create good content as well. And there's these Amazon influencers. I would sign up to all the Amazon influencer. There's like creator connections and things like that. I would sign up to all of the things and get the word out there. I've had a few viral moments with some of my products in the past, and it's just the power of it and the profitability is just insane. I was having 5K days with some of my products with like almost no ad spend. So my profit margins were just insane. And it was powerful. It was very, very powerful, and showed me the power of getting the word out there. So that's something that in the past I did not focus on, but now I just see more and more the value in it. I'm like, I don't know why I couldn't see it before, but now I'm like, it's undeniable how powerful social media is and having content. It's a compounding thing, right? Like it serves you long term. As someone with ADHD brain, I'd love to know, what was a habit or ritual that helped you move from overwhelm to actually finish your first product? I work the best with sprints. So I tend to have intense sprints, like short periods of time where I'm like, I'm creating this and I have like this deadline that I have to create this by. And that does wonders to me. I am not the type of product creator that is consistent in product creation. It's not like every month I create. No, it's like I need intense, short period. And it's not even as much of a habit that I have then. It's just like, it's a birthing process. Like, I want to get this out. And then I usually get like 80-90% done of the product. And then there's this period where I'm just like, I let it sit. And the letting it sit often can be very, very powerful, because then I come back to it just a couple of weeks later, or sometimes longer. And then I'm like, I'm seeing this with fresh eyes. Now I can edit this really well and then move on. And once I go into the sample process, the rest is very easy to just follow along, because you have like the sample. If you're happy with it, then you go. So I think the creation bit, sitting down, that's the hardest. So I like doing it in a sprint, and I try to do it with accountability. So I've done it together in a group before. I've told someone, or my designer will know, like, hey, we're working on this like I would be like sending her WhatsApp, oh my God, I have this idea. We have to do this. That's going to be insane. And then she'll remind me, didn't you have like this idea? I'm like, oh yeah, let's do it. Find a designer that can also like tell the designer, oh, I have a project oncoming. Can I reserve your time in like, let's say 2 months? Because sometimes you have to reserve time with like a freelancer because they have so many projects. It's like, hey, in 2 months, can I reserve some time so that we can have the design? I'll have this ready by then, right? So then you have a deadline. Deadlines is something that I need, and short sprints. Which planner do you mean? Sorry, I'm not entirely sure which one you mean. Do you mean the page that I just shared? Where is it? Oh, the shadow work. Yeah, sure. It's this, but I can also show you where else it is. But if you want to see the whole funnel, I think that can be interesting as well. I'll just put the link in here. You can have a look at it. I also put it into my community. I want to show you, because one of my main objectives and the way that I want to be building an audience is by building a community, journal club. So this is the journal club that I've been building. Still got some pending requests, need to let people in, need to go through it, because sometimes there are like these spammers in there, and then they would just message everyone, and it's not always that easy to recognize who might be a spammer or not. And here in the classroom, I've also put it in. And I've put in a journal library, so people have access to all sorts of different products that we have. And they have ongoing access, so we will be adding more products in here as well over time. These are some different ideas that we're working on and refining over time to build an audience. Are you guiding them from the 9 planner to your free community, or where do you lead them to after the purchase? So after the purchase, I'm getting them to a thank you page that is leading them to the physical product. So it's showing them, hey, do you also, it's like it shows the physical product and with a link to go to Amazon. So we're going to test how well it converts, because of course it will convert a lot better if it would be directly on a credit card the person used for the digital one. But the problem is this brings a lot more complexities in, like, did they put the address correctly, shipping, are they really in the US? Because then I can only ship within the US, I cannot ship international. It's just a lot more complex. That's why we've added just the Amazon link, and we are going to track how well that does, because if it does well, it's worth just leaving the Amazon part in, because Amazon takes care of the customer service, shipping, warehousing, all of that stuff. How long did it take you to create your first product from concept to production? My very first product, my very first stationary product. So my very first stationary product was actually a habit tracker. And the habit tracker, I can't recall how long it took me, but probably less than a month in design and concept, and getting it done with the designer, then getting a sample, and then manufacturing from concept to getting it on the market. 4 or 5 months, because manufacturing takes time and shipping takes time. Reviewing a sample takes time. So you want to estimate with that at least. When it comes to an actual physical planner with content, I would calculate 1 to 2 months at least for the content and design really being done. Because often when the designer starts designing, there's going to be revisions back and forth, things like that. And then you want to get a sample. The sample, once you order a sample until you get the sample, it can take up to a month. And then there's the manufacturing process, takes roughly a month, sometimes a little bit longer. Then you have an inspection, then the shipping. So overall, minimum of 5 to 6 months. 5 to 6 months, then 7. But the beautiful thing is once it's done, like some of the products that still sell on autopilot for myself are products I've created 5 years ago, right? I just reordered them and I went through the process. Then sometimes I will make changes to them, but you know, I really like that. I wouldn't say it's fully passive. I don't think that exists as a business, but it's semi-passive, which I really like about it. Now with the content, it won't be. So I think one reason I was always a little bit, let me just remove the second camera. One reason I was always a little bit hesitant around content creation is because I was always aware it's a lot more work than it seems. So I was more hesitant, and I liked the way it was because I used to have weeks I didn't even check my Amazon account. I knew I was just getting the money, and it worked very well for me because with the way I was thinking, and also I was starting to help more people. That was taking a lot more of my time, and then mine was just coming on autopilot. So I loved that, and it was one of the reasons that I wanted to be on Amazon in the first place, because I loved that. But now I feel like, I might really find it fun to create content because it can be a creative outlet as well, and a form of doing things. And I see the long-term benefit, because if you have a personal brand long-term, no matter what you want to do, right? Like if you have your own products, even better because you can sell them. But long-term, you have so many different possibilities, right? Like even the networking that you can do and the connections, and like even as simple as friendships, like the friendships that I've made since I've came online. Like one dear friend of mine, Evelyn, now, like we would have not met each other if it wasn't for a Facebook group in the 2020 in a lockdown time, right? And this is a friendship I value a lot. So just getting out there brings a lot of beautiful opportunities. So I'm like a lot more like, yeah, I want to do it. Could we see the upsell page on Amazon? Actually, I can't directly show it because I would have to purchase my own product unless I go into ClickFunnels. Let's see if I can find this and I can show you. So let's see, this is a preview page. Okay, so I can look at the preview page. Let's see if I can open this preview page in a different browser as well. Yeah, okay, I can. So let me show you. Let's see. No, that's the wrong. Wait. Okay, so once someone purchases, this is what they get to see. So they see this video of the physical product, and it's just showing the physical. And then they can go here on Amazon and they see this tab instead, this page instead, and then they can purchase it directly. And we see how well that will convert, because we know the more clicks we are adding, the harder it can be to convert. So we will see, what is it? You can turn on the plugin so people can only message at level 3. I think this is a very important point, and I will put that as well. And I think I have to put in some questions into the free community as well to make sure that we don't get these spammers in there. Do you think it makes sense to sell your existing physical products as PDF downloads, for example, on Etsy, not only as a lead magnet, like you mentioned before, but rather also make profit with it? I actually never thought about it. Probably. I think this is a good point. I haven't thought about it. I think it could be interesting. The only thing with Etsy and PDFs is that so many digital like a lot of people just use them and resell them, and then there's lots more things like that happening on Etsy, especially with like the digital stuff. It's a little wild west on Etsy. So that's the only thing that I would be thinking about. But yeah. Yeah, this is something I would have to think about deeply because the Etsy market, I'm not only presenting my product to the buyer, it's a place where lots of competitors hang out. So I'm not entirely, I would have to think about this a bit more. And like I've done Etsy, I've never figured Etsy out that well, I must say. My products, or at least some of my products, are available on Etsy. And I think we've gotten like 300 sales from Etsy, like very, very little sales that came through Etsy. And maybe we just didn't really figure out the Etsy game, not like we've done the Amazon game. So that would be my only thing. The return on effort. Would I have to hire someone? Do I have to understand Etsy? If I spend the same time on something else, like I would try to compare all of that, and then make a decision of if it would make sense or not, and look at all the different pros and cons. But thank you for bringing this up, because this really gets me thinking. Yes, Amazon does give me customers on autopilot, but I do use ads. I've always used ads. I've never not used ads on Amazon, but I've not used ads outside of Amazon before to bring people to Amazon. So that's pretty new to me. And this year, however, has been a harder year on Amazon than it has been in the past. So I think this also was something that encourages me a lot to think, like, should I truly have all my eggs in one basket? So that's something I've been reflecting on a lot this year. And this is why I'm so, like, I went to all the different fairs, right? I went in May, I spent some time in London. In August, I spent some time in New York City. And that's all for trade shows and all to set my foot in, like really get myself into this world. And now we have booths in the stationery show in London next May, and we'll have a booth in New York as well. So we want to do the retail game. And I've spoken to a few different competitors that I've known from Amazon as well. And they said that it used to be, I think, was it 70-30 or 80-20? Either one of the numbers. So it used to be Amazon, the main part where they got their sales. and the phase was like 20 to 30%, right? And that this year, at least it has changed a lot, and that they're getting so many more sales through fairs as well. And it's beautiful because you have like these sales representatives, and then you have stores around the countries, like different places. So this is something that I'm like very keen. It also has a semi-passive, probably less passive, but I like it because it's not like I have to open a store and I have to physically sell my products. It's like, okay, I'm connecting with lots of different distributors, they sell it. So while it's not truly passive, in my brain, it's not like a full-on active thing. It's like, okay, I go to these trade shows, I'm building relationships, and then looking for deals. Purchase in bulk, sell it to your people. That's what I'm working on there. And this is also the reason why I'm doing that, plus the content. So in the future, I'm still going to do Amazon because Amazon is very powerful, but Amazon is more competitive now. And we can feel like this year, we can feel like something in the air in the US that people purchase a little bit less. They're more price conscious. Like there's some of these things where you can feel like Prime Days used to be like nuts, and they're still good, but not as nuts as they used to be. Like, so there's some things. I'll be curious how Black Friday is going to be this year, and Cyber Monday, and things like that. But I've noticed that this year has been a little bit more, there have been a few scares with the tariffs and this and that. So we felt it. So we felt it less the tariffs themselves and more the response of the market to it. We felt that. I saw your Insta story today where you showed a beautiful site with your members' work. Where can we find this? Oh, it was a draft. So it's not yet finished, but as soon as it's finished, it's going to be on our website, and I'm very excited about it, and I'll be sharing it. I'll be screaming it out. And this is on that website. I have all my mastermind members products on there. And another thing that we want to do, sorry, this is a bit off topic, but another thing we want to do is, because in Impact Stationary Creators, we have so many beautiful products that people have created. And what I want to do is I want to create on our Impact Stationary site, I want to create a store, a shop, so you can shop all the different products, and we will just link all the different Amazon stores of different people. And as I'm doing a lot more social media and I want to talk about all the different products, I think this is going to be a beautiful way also to showcase all the different things that people have created in Impact Stationary Creators. Because considering that we are a small group, like we are 200 something people, the amount of products that have been created is actually pretty insane. Like the success rate of our group, if we compare it to like industry standards of like, and not to forget, what we are doing is not something that you just do 1 week and then you have a product in your hand. Like this takes quite a bit of commitment and patience, seeing it through, and having like our community being this small, having so many products on the market. I think it's pretty cool. And it speaks so much about our members as well, how committed they are, and how I'm, very happy. So that's something that I am going to be working on in October, because I want to dial up. And I think a lot of what content creation is like really showing what you're up to as well, like, and showing what's happening in the world. And I think this is something we never really done. Like we shared it within us, like in the membership, people like, yeah, we know the products and we know what people are doing, but outside, no one knew. It's like, oh, what? So I think we want to scream this out a lot more. And I think with that, we'll also be able to support members in getting the word out for their own products. Who's designing this? I have a designer that works with me full time, and she helps me. She's the best. She also helped me in my office. We've done really cool painting work in the office. We have like a staircase that it's in like rainbow colors, and we have like really cool stuff. I've created videos. I'll have to share them and share all the cool things that she's been up to. Okay, do we have any questions? Anything left? Thank you so much for joining over the last few days. I know these calls sometimes have been a bit long. Let me know if it was valuable for you, if there's any certain aha moments or anything, or if there are pieces that you would love to go and understand more, because as I'm like going to go back with all of this, I'm going to go through all the transcripts, have AI help me as well, and then create different course modules, have short videos, and then you can have step-by-step process as I'm reworking. This is for impact stationary creators, so the goal is to help people that are coming new into the community, and even people who are working on a new product and want to go through the process again, go through the process in a way that's easier to digest and easier to understand for them. Yeah. I have one last question. What do you think is the first step starting this journey? I think the first step starting this journey is going to be deciding who you want to help and what you want to help them with, and writing down all the pain points that they have and the problems that they're trying to solve. And then look at that and see what is the type of product that you would love to see for someone like them. And if you're creating this for a past vision for you of yourself, I find this can be very magical if you create something for a past vision of yourself, because you get the person, you really get them, and you know what they need. Or you create a product that you still want to use. Like, I love creating products that are around productivity, because this is something, to a certain point, I will always struggle in my life, right? So I need all gamification and all the things that will help me, help my brain cooperate. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. How did the tariffs affect you? Okay, so the tariffs didn't affect us too much. We're very lucky here. So here's why. While the tariffs will still have an effect, we still feel it. But the way that we felt it was not proportional to what the tariffs were. And there were a few reasons for it. At the time when the tariffs came in, and they were so high, there were a lot of different businesses that didn't have the margins that we have. So we have a lot bigger margins often than other products, because what we're selling is the content, is the method. It's not really just paper, right? Printed paper. It's like people are buying what is printed on it, not just that it is printed. So with that, it's a higher perceived value, and usually is sold for a higher price. A really well-made journal is sold between $20-ish to like even $50-ish, right? There's a big range. And this means that if the manufacturing cost is less than $2, we have a lot more room. And when I got started with my first ADHD planners, my manufacturing for my planners that time was roughly $6-ish. So it was already 3 times as high as what we pay now. And people in our space, we have like a group purchasing, right? So that are paying right now. Like, this is like, I used to pay 3 times as much. So when I saw the tariffs, I was really annoyed, but I knew that I was profitable back then too, when I paid 3 times for my manufacturing. The tariffs couldn't do much to me because of my profitability, right? My margins. That was the first thing. But then actually it didn't end up adding as much cost because it affected so many other people, which that was an unfortunate part for them for sure. And I realized how privileged we were. That the shipping cost plummeted. It went down so much that at the end of the day, even with the tariffs, because the shipping cost went down so much, even though the tariffs went on top of it, it was okay. There was sometimes a 10% increase, maybe 20% increase in how much our landed goods costed us. But that didn't affect our business. So we were very lucky. We were very lucky that it didn't. And then now we find that shipping cost has increased a little bit. So now we find that there's a bit of an increase in cost. But again, because our purchasing, since we're doing it as a group and we have phenomenal pricing, we save somewhere else. So it was fine. It was not a make or break situation this year. Yeah. Was it difficult to set up a company in the US when you are from Germany? Surprisingly, no. It was very, very easy. I just did it online. Setting up a company in Germany, being German, is a lot harder than setting up a company in the US being from Germany. I was very surprised, but I was very happy about it as well because I want to have a US business for my US brands, because my goal was always to exit, right? To sell my business and have a nice 7 or 8 figure exit and then maybe do something else at some point. Then over time, I was less inclined. I didn't want to sell my brands that much. I wanted to keep them. I wanted to just make them better. But I still wanted to keep it in the US. And now I have a German business as well. And I will have to, over time, have to structure it. And my German business will own all the US businesses in the future. How do you handle shipping and warehousing in the US? Do you have other third-party warehouses or do you just store everything with Amazon warehouses? Okay, I do have other third-party warehouses. The reason for it is because every time I ship products, I usually ship at least 20,000 pieces to 40,000 pieces. So I'm shipping volume in that I don't want to store all with Amazon. Amazon doesn't like that, and they don't always allow that volume. So what I'm doing right now, Amazon has opened a warehousing that is not the warehouse where they ship out orders. They have like another warehousing system where it's just to store the products, and whenever you want, you have less inventory at the Amazon warehouse, the Amazon warehouse that ships orders, then you can replenish. So I'm doing portion of my inventories there. Another portion of my inventory is with what's called 3PL, so it's third-party warehousing. And I used to have a third one as well, but I'm ending the relationship there because there was no need for that many. And I'm glad that Amazon has offered the shipping warehousing. Sorry, they offer their own warehousing. So I'm doing that. And it's very easy to do that from Germany. It's all online. I've never had to be physically present there. I don't even know the addresses exactly where the things are. And yeah, I've been doing that like that for years. When you get started, you can store everything with Amazon. You don't need any warehousing. But when you start scaling and you start growing, that's when you need it. And that's initially Amazon can hold all of that. But when you start wanting to ship outside or sell outside of Amazon and fulfill it, not with Amazon, but with an external, then also a shipping company, warehouse company is necessary. I'm noticing it's getting late. My brain is giving sometimes. uh, but I'm happy if you have more questions. I'm happy to answer more questions. But I'm just my answers is sometimes a little chaotic. Okay, as the USA is so big, do you need several of these third-party warehouses, or is it all stored in one third-party warehouse? At the moment, I don't need more third-party warehouses because I'm not shipping myself most of my products. I'm having Amazon do this. In the future, once I have volume and ship myself, which at some point I will have to do, because there will be certain Shopify stores and things like that, things I want to do that after a certain volume, if I do it through Amazon, I'll just reduce my profitability. And at that time, I will have, I won't partner up with different warehouses. There are bigger ones, and you're only allowed to work with them once you have a certain volume. So once I have the volume, I'm going to be working with the third-party warehouse that I want to work with. And they have, similar to Amazon's system, they have warehouses all across the country. They will distribute them themselves. They have their own systems, and then they will ship it. This is something that as I grow outside of Amazon, I will do. But as much as I can have through Amazon, I will do that, because something to not overestimate or underestimate is the customer service. And I felt this now in a small way with Evelyn's pre-sale. It was roughly 600 shipments that we shipped worldwide, and total 600, roughly 50 of them worldwide, 50% of them in the US. And even though it was 600 people, the amount of customer service and the amount of messages and emails in this was very eye-opening to me, where I was thinking, well, if we have an online store and we sell 10,000 pieces a month, I will need a whole team of people just dealing with helping people find where the packages are, helping them get the tracking, like all of these things. And if I think about the hundreds of thousands of orders that Amazon has taken care of, and the amount of customer service that I had nothing to do with, I had no emails coming in for customers, very few emails. I had a few, but very few emails over the years. I'm like, wow, it would have been a full-time job just to take care of customer service. So these are things I appreciate so much about Amazon, because I would feel like so much pressure that I would mess it up, that I leave a message unanswered because I thought in my brain I had already answered them, but actually I didn't. And so this is something that I value so much as well. That's why I love selling on Amazon too. Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. In Impact Stationery, we are having another training next week about the pre-sale. So I'm sharing just all the different things, all the different lessons that we've learned from the pre-sale that we've done with Evelyn, which I think is going to be a very interesting training for those of you who want to prepare for pre-sale and want to do it as strategic as possible, and be prepared for things like customer service, right? Be prepared for timelines and different times of the year and things like that, because now we had a challenge. It's just Q4 is starting now, and the products being checked in by Amazon is taking a long time. So there's still a few products that Amazon has not even opened, even though they received it weeks ago. So there's some of these challenges that I want to update the training on, so that when you do a pre-sale, that you can prepare and keep these things in mind, so that your pre-sale can go as smoothly as possible. There's always going to be some unexpected, but I think that's with every launch. That's to be expected. Not to expect that something, I think that's always trouble. There's going to be something, and it's fine. But being able to be prepared as much as possible, that's going to be good. So I'm really excited about that training. How many planners do you order when you're ordering? It depends. Usually between 20 to 40,000 planners per order. Yeah, it has shifted over the years. It gotten to be more. This year has been a little bit less. I think 17, 40. Yeah, between 20-ish to 40-ish thousand usually. Because I don't like to order as many times per year as well. So I like to order between 3 times, maximum 4 times, but 3 times ideally. And some of the orders have been a little bit smaller. Yeah, in Evelyn's case, because it's the first product, we've ordered 8,000 pieces, which is already quite a bit for a first product. And for the new product that I'm creating, so anytime I do a new product, I order much less. So I only start ordering a lot once the products are selling well. So these new products, probably I will want to see if I do a pre-sale or something. I want to get some idea if people are getting this product, if they're loving it as much as me, or if it's just in my head that I like it and people are like, what the heck, Laura, like I wouldn't use this. So I need to do a pre-sale, because I don't know how can I validate this product? There's nothing like this out there, so I have to validate it. So once I know that, it will be at least 3,000 pieces, but I will see from there. My first product I ordered between 1,000 and 2,000. I don't know exactly anymore. I think the habit track I ordered 2,000 because I had 2 different colors, so 1,000 each, 2,000. But it was a cheap product, so I paid less than $1 per piece. And then for the ADHD planners, I think it was 1,500 for my first order. But then I ran out of stock immediately. It was it was a good problem to have, but it was still hard to manage. That's roughly, but it's been a few years, so I'm not entirely sure. But should be right. Okay, well, thank you. See you next week. And I'll work on getting the training done as soon as possible. I think by the mid of October, I should have it done. And then I'm giving myself that deadline. Mid of October, I want this course to be done, recorded, uploaded in Impact Stationery. Let's see if that's going to work out. But no, you're allowed to follow up with me as well for accountability. Okay, see you very soon. Have a beautiful evening or day, and bye.